What a week it has been for QPR then. You can tell it's been a big week when Brian is joining us for the preview show. And that is, of course, because Gareth Ainsworth is the new manager of QPR. We have the match against Blackburn to preview too, but we'll start with the departure of Neil Critchley because, of course, on last week's show, the big discussion was about whether he was going to stay or go. He did stay, but only for one more game, and that was the inevitable defeat against Middlesbrough, which was his final act, it turned out, before he was sacked. Both Dave and I last week agreed he had to go. Was it the right decision for you, Brian?
Yeah, I think so. Only one win in the last 12 games, or in his only 12 games. It just was inevitable. And when Dave said last week, on the podcast about this, I thought, yeah, I can see this happening. And all the signs were there. Suddenly everything went quiet at the club. And then we got to this. So, yeah, no great surprises.
Do you think he was going, Dave, regardless of what happened at Middlesbrough?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think everyone expected him to lose. I think even if they'd have pulled off a win, I think it was inevitable he was going to go. Seems like they had, judging by a few of the interviews I've seen today with Ainsworth and that, they were spoken to pretty early. I think that this has been on the cards for a few days now. Yeah, I mean, like Middlesbrough was a little bit better, wasn't it? But we still lost 3-1 and could have been 5 or 6. So, a little bit better isn't very good. I think it's a shame. I got nothing against Critchley, really. I think he's a decent manager, but I think it's just the wrong club for him. It just hasn't worked out here. The players have got to have a lot of responsibility for it as well. They've just not tried a leg for him, have they?
No. I don't even think Critchley himself would say it's the wrong decision. He would have known himself it's coming. That's the nature of the beast these days. Well, personally, I find it frustrating that we've discussed it on the forum a lot. It's only Critchley who's been hung out to dry by himself for what's happened over the last couple of months. Those above him in the pyramid, like your Lee Hughes, Les Ferdinand, for them it just seems to be business as usual. Is that wrong?
It's harsh, but probably fair, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, they've not performed any better than he has in a lot of ways. It's a question of I know Lee Hughes has been ill, and I accept that. But Celez has had the opportunity, to get hold of Critchley and say, look, this isn't working. You need to do more, more motivation or more stick or whatever it is that's required. And for, as Dave said, for whatever reason, Neil Critchley was not a good fit. Once that became apparent, then the club was obviously bound to act and was bound to be out there tapping up different people, seeing if they were available. It was inevitable.
When do you think Lee Hughes, Les Ferdinand become accountable themselves, Dave, at any point? Because at the moment it's just appoint a manager, here's our quotes of why we've appointed him, next one.
I would say Les is on the brink now. I think disappointment. The last couple of appointments have all been quite similar. They're like coaches coming in to develop players and sell them on, and it's all been the same sort of strategy. Gareth Ainsworth is a massive leap away from that. And for me, it looks like the board have said, no, we're going to go in this direction. And I'd be surprised if Ferdinand stays beyond the end of the season. I think he'll probably see it through till the summer, hopefully stay up and then move on. I think Les has done a lot of good things since he's been here, but the recruitment in the last few windows hasn't been good enough. And that's a big part of why Critchley has struggled, because we've got a lot of injury-prone players. We've got a lot of players who are just simply not good enough. And, it's a perfect recipe for a disaster, really, isn't it? We're going to come on to Ainsworth, but he's got his work cut out with his squad to do anything.
Yeah, you make a really good point. I actually had something on this, but I'll go on to it now. Brian mentioned it about the club's strategy. They just seem to depart from it far too easily. And that's where, to me, there is a big question mark over their roles at the club, because they seem to say one thing and then all too quickly get tempted to do another. I've got the quote from when they appointed Beale, and like you just said, from Warburton to Beale, even to Critchley, it kind of made sense. There were similarities on paper. Ainsworth just doesn't follow that path. And they said when Beale joined, to quote them, how individuals work with younger age groups, how they set up and how they play, this was a big factor for us. The DNA of the club is now firmly in place, which we're grateful to Mark Warburton for helping to establish. Now it's about building on that, and Michael fits in very well with that respect. Right, that's the end of the quote. But with all truthfulness, how much now, Brian, does that apply to Gareth Ainsworth?
Different DNA, I would say. The DNA has walked out of the stadium, I think, personally. We need to have a rethink anyway, I think, because the way that it's going, it's not working. Whether the approach that was meant to work before was the right one or not, the fact of the matter is that it wasn't working. So therefore, now we have to go with something else and see if that will work. We're in the desperate stage now. We're getting towards the end of the season. We're sitting 17th. We have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, we did a vote last year, obviously, on the top 50 QPR legends. Ainsworth came in at number 28, so his popularity at QPR is not going to be in question. Are you happy with the appointment overall, though, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at it, the situation is very different from when the last two come in. I mean, the place is on fire at the minute, and it's a disaster. We need someone to come in and pick everything up. I don't know about how other fans feel, but I'm dreading going to games at the minute. Now today, I'm quite looking forward to going Saturday. And I suppose that's why they brought him in. It's to get idiots like me on side and go, oh, hang on, I'm going to like this again. But you need to get the crowd on side, and I've got doubts about Ainsworth. I've got quite a few nerves about a few things with him. But the situation we're in, he is such an obvious choice to come in. And if he's not going to get it now, I don't know when he's ever going to get the job, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I mean, some in the fan base seem to think that Gareth is coming in as a saviour. And some others think that his appointment is almost mission impossible, given the way the team is at the moment. I suspect the truth is somewhere in the middle. At least I hope it is.
Yeah, my view is I'm happy enough that he's coming. He's clearly a top bloke. He's got the character as well that we need after Critchley. I just hope the players respect him and he can extract from them what he wants, because in some ways, it's a strange thing to say, but I actually feel a little bit sorry for him that he's come to us, because he's left a job where he has a job for life, an absolute bona fide Wycombe legend. Even in 100 years' time at Wycombe, they'll be talking about him. And he's come and given that up to come here. He is a brave man, isn't he? There's obviously some question marks about his appointments from the fans of QPR, primarily around his style of play. Do you have any concerns about that, Brian?
You know what? I was watching a video that was on the Hoops and Dreams forum, and he was going on about how he prefers 4-3-3 these days. So we're not actually shifting that much. It's a question of probably how he sets the team up, which individuals he puts in there, and what he tells them to do. I think that's where we're going to see the changes. So it might not be as obvious as people are thinking, in the way that it's going to be, but he will make a difference. I think what we expected with Neil Critchley was the fillip of a new manager coming in, and that gaining us a few wins, putting a few points on the board, and the team gaining confidence. That never happened. Now we've reset, or a reboot, whatever you want to call it. We've got Gareth Ainsworth to do exactly the same. This time, I think it probably work. That's my feeling anyway.
Yeah, I just think if he can get us on the front foot quicker, I'm actually all for it. I don't mind him going a little bit long. If we're not playing it between Rob Dickey to Dunn, back to Seny Dieng over and over, I'm all for it. I think we're actually sometimes a little bit hypocritical to say, like, oh, our style of football is fantastic. I mean, we dropped down now to 18th in the table. How good is our football, Dave?
Yeah, it's rubbish. I mean, I don't know. It's been rubbish for a while. I think if you look at some of our best teams that I've seen, they've always they've been quite direct at times. Even going back to like Jerry Francis' team that finished 5th in the Premier League. They could be they played good football, but they could be direct up to Ferdinand and that when they needed to. Warnock's team, obviously we had Tarappa, was brilliant, but they didn't muck. He tells stories about it all the time, doesn't he? That no playing in your own half, play in their half, and we love that team, and we still eulogise about them. If he's going to come in and play like a 1980s Wimbledon, he's going to struggle. I don't think he's going to. He seems quite adaptable. I'm personally bored of seeing us pass the ball in our own half and go nowhere with it. So if we're going to be a bit more aggressive, going to be a bit more direct, so I'm all for it, to be honest, after what I've seen recently.
Well, you know that the groundsmen at Loftus Road are trying to sort of keep that grass going as long as possible to reach the end of the season before they replace it.
Yeah.
And apparently one of the big problems has been these runnels going backwards and forwards at the back.
Yeah, this might help.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
You've both touched on it already, though. He's got a hell of a task at hand. Like Davey said, the place is on fire. It is. It's he's got to like stop some kind of slide down the table. Statistically, obviously, games 1 to 16, we were top. Ever since that point, if the season has started, then we've been bottom of the table. Have you ever seen such a fall from grace from QPR? I mean, from any team really, like this season.
It's incredible, isn't it? The drop from where we were to where we are now in such a short space of time is incredible. But he's got to see it as an opportunity. He's coming in. We know they can do it. You know, if he comes in, if he's not got to win 10 games to keep us up, realistically, probably 4 or 5 wins does it for us. I know it's got a bit tighter tonight with Rotherham winning, but 4 or 5 wins should keep us up, which should be doable. So he should see it as an opportunity and then, you know, build from there in the summer.
Yeah, he's got 3.5 years to do this, but I want it done. I want it done next week. Yeah, the thing is his record at Wycombe is very, very good. You know, we've got to look at that. He was the second longest serving manager in the EFL behind the guy at Harrogate. God, whose name I can't. Simon Weaver. And he was described by Three Counties Radio as an absolute legend. I think the guy there was just going on and on about him. And what he'd achieved at Wycombe was unbelievable. We need that transferred across to us, and we need it done quickly. And I think he can do it. It's a question of whether the club supports him along the way. And part of that, I think, is going to be trying to sort out what's going on with you know, the sick bay. We've got far too many in there. We need to try and get that sorted out ultra fast.
Yeah, I mean, we put up some stats this week that QPR have effectively been rubbish now for 12 months. Since last February, it all started. We had 8 good weeks under Beale, didn't we? That took us top, and it kind of papered over the cracks a little bit. The rest of the last year, we've been terrible, and that is what he's got to deal with. There are big issues at play here. It feels like we're like a plane with the engines have gone off and we're just hurtling towards the ground. We mentioned last week that Critchley's hands were tied with how much he could change the team. The bench last week was full of largely untested kids. There is a question mark of what can Ainsworth really do now with the current options at his disposal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the treatment table clears up quite quickly. I think a few of them just didn't want to play under Critchley. I think they might be coming back quite quickly. But like I said, there isn't a massive amount he can do. I mean, you know, I think there'll be a lot more optimism around the place with him coming back, but it's going to be pretty much the same team, isn't it? And can't see this huge number of changes. And you know, it's not going to be easy. Like I say, it's been poor for over a year now, isn't it?
Is it going to be man management, Brian, that you think he's going to bring in that Critchley potentially did now?
Well, he's brought in his assistant that he's had for years, and he's also brought in his own analyst. So I think that given that, we've got a solid management team there. They each know how each other works. They each know what they want. He is going to obviously look at the team, and I don't know how long that's going to take him to work out who in the team he feels can improve and who he feels can consolidate and build on this. I don't know. I suspect it will probably take a couple of games really to get it under his belt. But he will have to change things, and I think he will. I mean, I expect on Monday him to be inside the sick bay playing his guitar, making sure that they're out of there as quick as possible.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things he said in his first interview that caught my ear, I was going to say eye, but is he wants the players like crawling off the pitch. We know that he played with a broken leg. He won't accept anything less than full-blooded commitment. So has he met Tyler Roberts yet? People like that. Because the question with that is he going to be brave, do you think, to drop those players who aren't meeting his standards? Because that's, I feel, what our squad needs. It needs someone who's going to say, look, you're not giving me everything. You're not playing for this club again. Because that's to me something he's going to have to be brave and do to try and help us turn a corner.
I definitely think he will, because he's got something that Critchley didn't have, and he's got the fans behind him straight away, because we all loved him as a player, and he's going to get a bit of time from the supporters. But, you know, people will moan about different things, but he's going to have everyone behind him, so he's going to have the license to say, look, this is my way or the highway, and if the players don't buy into it with him, then they won't be playing. And you know, I think short term it'll probably work. You know, I've got a few worries about long term, but I think he should be able to get the players on side quite quickly. Hopefully, get a few results. We've got some massive games coming up, haven't we? We've got like Rotherham and Blackpool coming up in the next couple of weeks, so he needs to hit the ground running. But I'm more confident about things than I was a week ago.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think we said this when Critchley came in. There was an opportunity here for a new broom to sort of come in and sweep clean. It didn't happen. For whatever reason, he didn't motivate the squad the way he thought he was going to do, or the way they thought he was going to. But I've got a lot more faith in Gareth Ainsworth doing just that. He will motivate the team. He will crack on at them and say, I want this done. And I think we'll get results. The basic way the team is playing isn't that bad. It's just the way that they're working together that is not working. It was chaotic at times at Middlesbrough, but there was fantastic effort.
I'm sure we'll see what he can do with them. I just hope he's brave to be like, this is what I want, and if you don't do it, I'm going to drop you. Because let's face it, Critchley, after Fleetwood and after Hull, he was criticising the players, but then picking the same team the next week, and that's just never going to work. His first match, of course, is against his boyhood club, Blackburn. We mentioned last week on the show how our matches with Middlesbrough are usually entertaining affairs. Well, QPR versus Blackburn is usually the complete opposite of that. Firstly, we usually always lose. And secondly, the last 4 matches between the two sides have all ended 1-0. It's not usually one for the neutrals, Brian.
No, and any team that begins with B, we seem to have trouble with. Well, actually, most of them in the alphabet these days. Yeah, I'll do the jokes. And yeah, I actually think we are going to struggle with this. But I think there is an opportunity there for a draw, at the very least. And we're at home. It's going to have. I actually think Loftus Road is going to have a really good atmosphere. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to this one, so I'm really, really looking forward to it. Hope I'm not disappointed, but you know, I mean, am I being too optimistic? I don't know. I mean, what do you reckon, Dave?
I fancy this weekend. I've gone complete opposite now. I think we're going to beat everyone. No, I think it's his first game. I think there's going to be a change in mindset from the team. I think we're going to be a bit more on the front foot, a bit more aggressive, hopefully, and it won't be easy. It'll be a tight game. 1-0 wouldn't surprise me. No, I'm not sure we can keep a clean sheet, but you know, I think we'll just about scrape a win, and then hopefully we'll be off and running.
Yeah.
Well, you've just touched on it there as well, and Brian said it. Loftus Road's been flat now for quite a while, hasn't it? So that's going to be the first tick of him as manager, because he's definitely going to help us improve that. Whether he can instantly help us on the pitch is potentially another question. I think we won't lose. I have a suspicion this week he'll at least be able to get them going enough to get us a point in this game, which wouldn't be too bad. If we can keep ticking some points over, it will help us towards safety. But Blackburn, usually a dour match, so if there is a big crowd in there, hopefully we do get entertained more than we usually do. And hopefully Gareth Ainsworth can have a long and successful reign. And hopefully we're not doing another one of these podcasts in another 2 months with another new manager, because we have more managers than wins at the moment, don't we? Thank you, Brian, for joining us, and Dave, as always.
You're more than welcome.
Next week, we'll be previewing the trip to Rotherham, which could be a big relegation 6-pointer, depending how we do get on against Blackburn. Join us for that preview. Thank you, as always, for watching, and come on your arse.
Yeah, come on your arse.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.